It's social distancing at the Chamber, the Tuesday edition. Sometimes we call this happy hour with Hammer. Glenn, the CEO of the Arizona Chamber. We've always got special guests on here, but we're going to go up the hill today to visit with a very special guest from Flagstaff. Why don't you introduce this very special guest from the world of higher ed?
Well, we couldn't be happier than to have President Cheng here with us today, who's the president of Northern Arizona University. And I just want to say that she has done a marvelous job, not just at NAU, but really improving the entire economic development landscape for the state of Arizona. You are just a terrific ambassador for us, not just in Arizona, but across the country and across the world, with a special emphasis in what you've done to build a relationship with Mexico. President Cheng, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's really great to be here. It's always great to be in Phoenix, even if it's virtual.
The first thing I just want to ask is just life in the pandemic. How I know that NAU responded very quickly and did a great job of protecting students, faculty, staff, while still providing a world-class educational product. How'd you do it?
Well, we had heroic efforts by our faculty and staff to pivot to a virtual format to finish the semester. Our students did end up finishing strong. We had 6,000 students, record class graduate, wow. And we had a virtual commencement a week ago to celebrate, as I know high schools all over the state and colleges all over the country have found ways to celebrate their graduates. NAU has passion. Our mission is to shape and build lives, and we continued on. And that was something that kept us grounded during this really incredible disruptive event.
Well, I know there's many different areas we could focus on, but I know on the environmental and the healthcare area, NAU has particularly strong programs and a very important purpose. If you wouldn't mind, just how do some of these areas connect to the current crisis that we're in right now?
Our nursing, physical therapists, physician assistants, and occupational therapy programs are just top notch. But what people may not know is we also have a wonderful public health program. And so our nurses and physician assistant students were on the front line and did not stop what they were doing in helping in their rotations, and when their rotations ended, they volunteered in the hospitals and in the healthcare organizations. Our public health faculty and students have been doing contact tracing and modeling of the coronavirus in Coconino County, have worked side by side with the county epidemiologists, and are now launching a course on contact tracing so that we can help through all of this pandemic. Our PMI, our Pathogen and Microbiome Institute, has the virus right here on campus in Flagstaff. They're working with TGen on testing all kinds of different drugs on the virus so that we can hopefully come up with a better treatment and a cure.
That's a lot of, I was not aware of some of those activities.
It's fun to be able to brag. We have folks that are doing some interesting new testing with apps and various kinds of things as well. So it's an active environment here. We're working on all of those things.
The contact tracing program, that's a big piece of this puzzle. Is that something that's available online for maybe people outside of Arizona that would want to?
Yes, and the course will launch later in June, and we feel that there's an incredible demand for training, and this is something that students and faculty and parents can sign up for and help their communities.
I have one final question before I'm going to turn it over to Garrick, and this is my daughter, who's a senior in high school, has asked me to ask this. Now, all I can say is she's still trying to figure out what she's doing next year. I have 3 daughters. They've each promised they're going to go to each Arizona university. So we're just not sure which sequence. What would you expect that the online, what the campus experience will be in the fall for the incoming freshmen? Any thoughts on where this is headed?
Well, at NAU, we're going to be open. We are going to welcome students back. We feel that we'll have top of mind of students, faculty, and staff safety. There'll be a mixture of virtual and in-person experiences just because we'll want to have some physical distancing that is appropriate by CDC standards. But our offices are going to be open. Our residence halls are going to be open. There'll be a mix of single and double rooms. So I think we're going to back away from triples. But residence halls and floors become a family unit after a very short time. So I don't think you have to worry about that. 66% of the peer institutions have said that they're going to go with double occupancy, but that we're going to reserve rooms for people who don't feel comfortable. There are students that may not want to come right away to campus, and we're going to have a digital experience for them. They can zoom into a classroom. And if a student is feeling ill or feels that they may not want to be exposed to other groups of students on a particular day, they can zoom in as well. So we're going to make it as flexible as possible, but still have that campus experience. Our campus health service, our rec center are all doing state-of-the-art implementation to make sure we have health and safety. You know, you're an organization that has a lot of different businesses, and I was telling Garrett that, you know, a university campus is like a city. You know, we have restaurants, we have hotels, we have transportation systems, we have events, we have recreation and gyms and pools. So we're really looking at all the industry standards to make sure that we're doing the right thing by our students. And I go back to that imperative. We've got to get kids educated, and particularly in the economy that we're facing and the recovery that we want. We want all of our population in Arizona to have as much education as possible. So the imperative is to get the students back on campus, keep everybody safe, and make sure they progress.
No, beautifully said. And I think there's even been some data that's come out that since the pandemic struck, that those with a higher education degree are faring much better than those who don't have that level of education.
Yes, yes. And if we have to go virtual for a few weeks at any given time, we will. But we're exploring also, Glenn, to start earlier and be done by Thanksgiving so that we don't risk students going home and needing to come back. And we can't predict this virus. We can only do some risk mitigation as we go along.
Well said. Garrick?
So President Cheng, Glenn's life is complicated enough as an in-state parent. You've got parents of high schoolers out of state, even on the other side of the world. What is your advice to out-of-state applicants, foreign student applicants? How should they be thinking about fall at NAU or fall at any higher education institution for that matter?
Well, I do think that we're putting safeguards in place that will allow us to welcome students, faculty, and staff back to campus, steps that other universities across the country are also adopting. In some ways, the size of NAU, the remoteness of Flagstaff help us in conveying to students that are coming from afar that this is a relatively safe place to be. And that we're going to be testing, monitoring temperatures. We're going to take care of each other. We're going to wear masks. We're going to socially distance or physically distance. And we're a family, a lumberjack family, and we're going to take care of each other. Our international students are far, far away. And we are WeChatting and texting and keeping connected with them and their families. We have a very close relationship with universities around the world, and our university partners are going to work with us. If visas loosen up and our students can physically be here, they're going to be welcome. If not, we're going to make sure that they can access our courses online and stay with us so that they can progress and then come back in the spring. So we're really looking at all kinds of flexibility. I think that's kind of the key, right? We can't predict the future. We can only stay as flexible as possible.
You probably already have a little bit of visibility about what your student headcount looks like for the fall semester, but as you think out, there's a lot of concern in higher ed that parents are having their students press pause on those out-of-state applications. Any thoughts regarding out-of-state students in the future?
I do think you're right. I think that students and families are second guessing whether or not they want their child to go across the country. That is a benefit to NAU. We're going to welcome all of Arizona to Flagstaff and to NAU. Students can stay close to home, yet be far enough away to be independent. If something should happen, they can jump in a car and go home. It's not it's not an airplane flight across the country or the world. So I do think that we are seeing that parents are, whether from other countries or from the East Coast, are thinking in terms of keeping their students a little closer to home. So Glenn, I'm glad your children have selected Arizona, so you don't have that to worry about. Now you just have to choose.
Yes, no, well, I'll just say this. I would be proud for any of them to choose your excellent institution. You're a great leader. I love how you've been handling this difficult situation. It's really a model for others.
Thank you. I think you have to just always fall back on it's about the student. It's about the student's experience, and the student needs to have an education and grow up to be a thriving adult to contribute to Arizona. So.
Well, I certainly say as soon as it's safe to do so, we will get back up the hill for our environmental summit. We had a great experience there. We love NAU, love the area, and I know we'll get through this and we'll learn some lessons, and we're going to be wiser for it.
And I would just say to parents like you, Glenn, we've got lots of options to engage. We have social media, we have virtual tours. We could check out student life and what's happening today without a campus visit. And then when things loosen up, please come up for a campus visit.
We sure will. And thank you so much, President Cheng.
Thank you very much.
President Cheng, thanks for doing this. Glenn, we learn something every time we do one of these. And talking with President Cheng, we learned a lot today.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.